Welcome to Legend Makers, the podcast where education's true heroes take center stage.
Shine like a ray from the sun. There's something people look for but never can find.
All right, we're back, Legend Makers podcast. Today I'm with Sara Boucher. Here's what I got for you, Sara. How you doing today? Good?
Good, doing great. How about you?
I'm doing great. It's Friday, leading into the Super Bowl Sunday. I'm out here in South Jersey near Eagles country, so everybody's going crazy because the Eagles are in the Super Bowl. So,
Oh, that's going to be good. You guys are going to have to grease up those light poles, I hear.
well, yeah, but they shouldn't be climbing them. There's some
I
kid
mean,
had an
I'm
issue
just-
there. It's tough.
I'm just saying,
They
if they win,
do the
this might go
polls.
crazy, but it'd be,
They
it'd
go.
be a good time.
They go nuts. So I'm going to read your bio here. Here's what I have for you. I wrote this up. I took your big bio and I condensed it into, you're a powerhouse. You're a K-5 STEM educator. You're in Vegas. You're at Clark County School District. You've been transforming classrooms. This is to your words, your hand-on robotics, creative problem solving. You've got a passion for making STEM accessible to all students. You've from leading innovative programs to inspiring young minds with tools like Dash, Vex 123, and Sphero Bolt. Your dedication is to fostering creativity and inclusion in education. There you go. How's that?
Sounds good. Sounds good. Yeah, it was a pretty
Did I
long
nail
one.
it?
Yeah, you did. Looks good. Looks good.
I had to condense it. All right. So aside from that, why don't you give us your background? Tell us who you are for everybody listening, please.
Absolutely. So my name is Sara Boucher. I am proudly born and raised in Las Vegas, Nevada. There was 1 year I lived in another state, but we won't get into that. It wasn't, it's Vegas, go big or go home. So born and raised here. I've always loved living in Las Vegas. Worked in many different schools across Vegas and just absolutely love it here. Kids are great. Our school district is really great. And yeah, I just love it. So I enjoy hanging out with my fiance and my cat or going out. I know many people don't like 120-degree weather. I am a desert lizard, so I'm all about it. It's a little windy today and it's not my favorite thing. So just excited for warmer temperatures coming up.
It's windy out there, huh?
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
little
but
windy
you've got,
today.
I went to Vegas 1 year. I think it was like 113.
Oh yeah,
It was
that's good. Yeah, it's good.
I think people's shoes were melting, like the soles of their shoes. I remember going into like a Skechers, they were asking for like shoe glue because I think the soles were peeling off their shoes.
Sounds
So,
about right.
I've got a lot of questions. First off, I was on your website, which is really cool. MS Geeky Teach, is that how you
Yes,
say
yes,
it?
Miss Vicky Peach, yes.
Miss Geeky Teach. So I'm going to press msgeekyteach.com. So Miss Geeky Teach. It's really cool. But what I was looking at is you're hacking the dailies. Like, what are the hacking the daily 5? Tell me about that. Because I was looking at that and I was like, all right,
Oh,
that's interesting. What do you got going on there?
that was that was when I was still in the classroom. So prior to becoming,
Okay.
and we'll like go a little backwards, I guess I should have done that. So my first year out of college, I was hired mid-year hire, did first grade, and then I got bumped up to second grade, and then I rolled back and forth between for a couple of years. And so
Okay.
during that time, I met amazing people on what is now X, but previously Twitter. And so
Hmm.
that was actually the brainchild of my friend Victoria. And so she was sharing all about it, and we were just talking back and forth. We used to use Voxer back in the day. So we used Voxer to kind of just share ideas. And oh gosh, that's like a blast from the past. I think we were trying to, I'm like trying to think about it because it was probably in like 2012, not 2012, 2014, 2015, so almost 10 years ago. So we were just
Hmm.
really trying to find innovative ways to change. And the Daily Five is really it's just stations is really all it is. And so just trying
Okay.
to find innovative ways back then. I mean, I was doing things I probably shouldn't have been doing, like making Google accounts for my kids. And I was using drones before they were popular and using like all these cool technology things that
Yeah.
would ask my coworkers, like, hey, do you want to try this? They're like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, it's really cool. So finding some people online to be able to really connect with, and Victoria's one of those people we were able to connect. And so yeah, we worked together on that and just found different ways that we could, change it up a little bit because technology was such a new and bustling thing. And we were starting to see people use Chromebooks in the classrooms and starting to do like
Yeah.
mystery Skype and things like that. So we really just kind of dived in deep on that one. So it is totally her brainchild,
Very
but
cool.
yeah, shared a lot of great information. So yeah, that was a fun one.
That's good. And how long have you been teaching? So,
I say I've been an educator since 2012. Um,
uh-huh.
I was I was a teacher and then I left for a year in 20 trying to remember what year it was, 2 or 3 years ago, to go work for Woven Learning, which I absolutely adore them. They're a nonprofit and they help get STEM into the hands of underserved kids. Absolutely
Okay.
loved it. I love the team that works there. They're amazing. They work with predominantly middle and high school. Um,
Okay.
no notes. They were wonderful. I just really miss being in the classroom. And so
You
they were
did. Yeah.
totally understanding. I still work with them. I actually just went to a camp with them in January and we got to do
Cool.
scribble bots and marble mazes on the walls, or like the kids were making these really cool mazes. And so, yeah, they really bring out the fun of, in STEM. So
Yeah.
loved working for them. I just miss the kids. So 11, 12 years ish, 13.
Okay.
I say 13-ish.
And what started? Why teach? Why go into teaching? What drove you?
So I've always loved kids. I have a huge family. And so when I was a kid, I would be the one wrangling all the kids out on Saturday. All right, you're going to do this. And we're making up games and we're doing this. And some say I was bossy. I definitely was a little bossy. I just say I had, future leadership skills. And so like we get the kids all together. I was the neighborhood babysitter, taught kids how to swim, ride bikes, all of the good stuff.
Hmm.
And I really wanted to do something to help people. And I thought about being a vet for a little bit when I was first in high school. And then I realized it's not always fun because, you have to
Hmm.
put down animals sometimes. And I was like, well, I don't
Yep.
want to do that. So I was like, well, what can I do where I don't have to, but I can still make a difference, right? And
Yeah.
I was a BC student and I had always struggled in school. My parents put me in early and not on the, definitely not their fault or anything like that. But now we know to sometimes you should wait before, because I was 4 turning 5. So I feel like I was
Okay.
always behind in school.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I worked really hard, but I was always, not necessarily teacher's pet, but tried to work really hard for my teachers. And I just loved school. My family was great, but it was just an escape for me. And I really remember a couple of teachers as I was getting into high school or getting into my senior year. I'm like, what do I do? And they were like, well, what do you like to do? And kind of, I was like, actually, I think I'd like to do this. And I literally, once I figured that out, I'm just one of those people when I know what I want to do, I'm going to do
You
it. When
did
I go
it.
shopping, I'm like, we're going to get a couch in 20 minutes and then we are leaving. We are not spending the day here. So I signed up immediately I went to my local college, signed up, went to UNLV, signed up like that weekend, enrolled in
Hmm.
classes. And
Hmm.
during my graduation, I actually went and was in a math class the night of my graduation because I had to make up credits. So it's a good
Really?
time. It's a good time. Yeah.
That's cool. Great.
Yeah. So
Excellent.
yeah, just so many teachers. And looking back, I wish that I would have told them, like, thank you so much for your influence. But I had teachers that
Hmm.
dropped their own kids off early so they could tutor me. They would stay late or pick me up or do whatever they needed. And I just think that's, those relationships are so important. And so
That's
seeing all of
true.
that made me so happy. Yeah. So
Yeah, we hear that a lot. So you were
yeah,
inspired. You liked working with kids. Now you've been
absolutely.
teaching long enough. So let's see. Your oldest students will be now what?
Oh,
Seniors ish?
they've already
They're
graduated.
gone. They're
They,
gone, right?
they,
Yeah, they
they're,
graduated.
I went to graduations last year
Have you
at,
been?
oh, bawled my eyes out. It was, yeah,
Really?
it was beautiful. It was
I'll
just
bet.
seeing these kids, and there was a few kids who struggled, right? But
Yeah.
they still overcame. And it makes me so proud to see they were second graders when I had them, or first graders, I'm sorry, because I rolled up with them. So I had these
Okay.
little baby first graders and, we went through second grade together and I taught them for 2 more years in a technology specialist. And then to see them just like and connect with their families and like, oh, Miss Boucher, like I want to do this. And I even have a girl she took a year off to kind of figure out what she wanted to do. And now she's reaching out to me again, like, hey, can you help me with
All
college
right.
applications? I'm like, yes, whenever you want,
Oh
immediately.
my
Let's
gosh,
go
that's
right now.
amazing.
Yeah.
That's what
So
it's really all about, isn't it? I mean, I
yes,
think, isn't that
absolutely.
why you do it for that kind of, to see these kids grow up and they're still looking back and going, hey, I could use your help with something. That must feel amazing.
It does. Yeah. It just, like I don't want kids. And so just being able like to throw my love into these kids
Hmm.
it, it's just nice. It gives me hope, right? For
That's
the
great.
future. Like these kids are great. So yeah, it's a good time.
And, and you're STEM. So how did you get into
Yes.
STEM and science? I mean, you could have gone a lot of different ways, right? So, and you
Yes.
struggled. You said, so you were struggling. I mean, it didn't sound like I was an F student. So let's be real here.
Yeah.
My report card was like, ooh, that's bad.
Yeah.
Nobody got to see it. But okay, BC student, you're not like crushing it in like sciences and things like this. Why? How did you get into STEM fields?
So it's been a journey. I always thought that I was
Uh-huh.
like, oh, I'm going to stay in the same classroom for my entire life. I'm going to be the teacher that, like the kids are going to know that I'm going to have all their grandkids. And after I got done teaching second grade for the second time, so like 3 years in, I was only in the classroom for like 2.5 years with that mid-year. My principal had said, hey, we have an open humanities position, and in CCSD you can fill it with whatever you want, because we had over 1,000 kids. And so we had to add an extra day within our rotation of when we see kids so that the classrooms weren't like 70 kids at a time, right? So
Right,
the
right.
teachers could get their preps. So he said, do you want to do technology? And I was like, yes. So I did technology for a little bit, did that for 2 years. Then I did go teach at a charter school for 1 year, moved to New Mexico, did computer programming and robotics. Absolutely loved it. It was so much fun. And so my heart has always been in the tech field. Came back to
Okay.
Las Vegas, did technology again for another year. And then when I came to this school that I'm at, the principal was like, "Oh, so you want to do STEM?" We sat down, we were like, "What do we want to do?" And she's like, "Would you want to do technology?" I'm like, I kind of, STEM, I feel like it's up and coming. So I don't really know anything about it, to be honest with you. I mean, I know the letters, I know what they mean,
Right, right.
taught all those things, right? Like we can figure out how to incorporate this. And so since then, it's been, Wild West out here in Las Vegas, trying to you build
Great.
my program. And then my time at Woven Learning was so impactful because they showed me different ways that I could incorporate STEM. So we're doing 3D printing with fifth grade this year based on just how much feedback we got from, all of these amazing programs with the middle and high schoolers. And so I just kind of fell into it. But again, I've always loved science. I've always loved technology. Math, we joke in my classroom that really it's magic, with the STEM is for magic in here. So we
Cool. I
do
love it.
math, but I'm trying to get better at it. So
Okay.
yeah. And then I know you've interviewed Akio before, and so with her
Yeah.
and her engineering, so her and I share some ideas. So
Okay. Yeah.
community effort,
Yeah.
right?
Q is great.
I feel like with teaching, like it really has to be community. You have to work together because you're so siloed sometimes. I'm the only
Mm,
STEM teacher in my classroom. There's only a
right.
few other STEM teachers that I know of in my district. So in a large district, it's hard to connect with those people. And so being able to find these little pockets of, oh, you have a really great science lesson. Awesome. Let me borrow it. Or you have this or you have that. Like, let us work together. I feel like that's how I've gotten to STEM, is somebody was like, you should try this. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Oh yeah, let's do that. I'm always down for something new. So I'm like, yeah, sure. Let's try it. If it
Yeah.
fails, well, failure is just your first attempt in learning. So it's okay.
100%. And do you get, I mean, your classroom looks amazing. So if you
Thank
look
you.
around behind, for those of you watching on YouTube, it's a pretty awesome classroom. Do you get a lot? Yeah, it really is. Look at that. It's like
Thank
big and
you.
open. Do you get like a lot of latitude to do things kind of your way there? So you're the
Yeah.
STEM K-5? Is that what you're doing? K-5 STEM?
Yes. So I
And how
see.
does that work? Do they come in? Tell me about your rotation and how they come in.
Yeah, so I start, it's 50-minute rotation. So I see,
Hmm.
we have 6 blocks a day. One of them is my prep. So I see 5 classes a day. Every day I'll
Hmm.
see first grade. It's first grade, kindergarten, second grade, and then lunch. And then we'll have an open prep with either third grade, fourth grade, or fifth grade. So I see
Okay,
all the
got it.
students. We're a very
Wow.
transient school. So between 600 and 700 kids, sorry, 650 to like 700 kids is what we have. And so
Okay.
I mean, it makes for smaller classroom sizes. Since we're on a 6-day rotation, I only see them 30 times. So I'm finding that's my biggest struggle is I see you 30 times. What impact can I make in these 30 times? But then also, I know a lot of teachers have the honor of like, or not, I guess not honor, but like they will see a class for 5 days in a row. And I love
Yeah.
that. But that doesn't work with our schedule because we have too many kids. So it's really difficult to do multi-day projects because I have to store stuff, or that's why we have the shelving unit. And if you're listening to it, there's giant garage storage shelving units I brought from my house. And so we have those so that I'm able to really dive deep into stuff. So like fifth grade, we'll do a big project, and then fourth grade, and then third grade, we'll divvy it up that way because otherwise I don't
Okay.
have enough room. So I just really try
Right.
and also make them to be like not one and done projects, but what's one thing that you can walk away with today, like really understanding. This week we're working with Dash. So they did introduction to Dash. Next time I see them, we're going to be building within like their coding app. So even if they were gone, they still have friends that are going to be able to show them what they did last week. But you
Hmm.
don't have to do both to be here, right? That's the problem, is sometimes we have kids who are gone for a couple weeks or they're gone for a couple days. And so in my world, if you miss 2 or 3 days for
Yeah,
schools, it's hard because they miss a lot of stuff. So we
that's right.
really try and do like small 40-minute lessons where you come in, you do this, and then see you later, bye, where you've gotten something that you can get out of my class,
Mm.
which
Hmm.
it's the time constraint is hard. And I know I'm not alone in that.
Yeah.
again, talking to friends, they're like, oh yeah, like totally feel you on that. I'm like, cool, not alone.
What kind of a project falls into like a 40 minute? Because you're not alone in that. I hear that a lot. And
Yeah.
it's kind of the challenge with some of the programs that we write, particularly with drones, because you don't just walk in and fly drone and then leave.
Yes.
Like you got to practice, you've got to get good, then you've got to understand the coding concepts and and so if you're not going to be able to commit any time to it, it's challenging, right? So what are some of the things that you found actually do work in that limited constraint, those limited time constraints?
So I try and incorporate a lot of stuff with my kids, which is also like not like it's probably one of my flaws is I'm like, I want to do everything. And so but we only have 30 times that I see them. So one of the
Right.
lessons that my kids really love, my favorite charity is Charity Water, and they have like
Okay.
children's activities lessons that they can do, and they can learn about the water crisis and all these different places and how are people in different areas where they need access to water, how are they getting water? So one of the
Hmm.
lessons that we did that I loved is the kids learned about the facilities that make, oh, and I'm gonna brain fart now. On how they make one of the water things that they use to filter out their water. So they're basically making a
Hmm.
water filter, but
Oh yeah.
we watch the video, we talk about it. Okay, now today you're going to be working in one of these factories, right? Or one of these,
Hmm.
places. And
Yep.
you're going to see how the local people are able to get, help from these charities by working together. And we talk about that too, right? Like how are they building
Hmm.
connections with the community when they're using, blah blah blah. So
Yeah.
they'll go
Uh-huh.
through and they have to like sift through sand, which is really salt. They're sifting through, rice, and then they're sifting through like bigger rocks and stuff to understand how are these bio sand filters made, right? And then we
Yeah.
talk about it. But then the next time I see them, we do another one. So we learn about a different part of the world that has different needs and different access. So
Hmm.
there's kind of understanding it, right? Because they're understanding different parts of the world and different things. But okay, last week I wasn't here, but this week now I get to learn about, maybe I didn't get to learn about Cambodia, but this week I get to learn about Ethiopia, right? And so it's okay
But
if they,
same kind of practice, same water
yeah,
filtration, water kind of concept. Because I have
yes,
a
whatever it
friend
is.
who is in the wastewater treatment business. Like it's
Oh,
pretty
that's awesome.
fascinating because he talks to me about it. He's like, yeah, I mean, I actually listened to him talk about the process of like sand filters and biofilters
Yeah,
and bioreactor membrane filter. I'm like, wow, this is intense. And when you think about it, we take it for such granted, like it's just turn on our taps here,
yeah,
what clear water comes out, but that's not everywhere, right? And so,
no,
wastewater treatment operations and maintenance, and also, believe it or not, those are like really interesting jobs. Like there's a
yes,
huge career pathway in those kinds of jobs that people don't like. That would be so under the radar. Like, how do you get into like wastewater operations and maintenance? Like, how do you water filtration? Like, you could literally change the world with stuff like that. Like, that's like big picture stuff. If you think about water needs as like in the next 10 years,
mm-hmm,
15, 20 years, think about that. So one of your kids could be creating like the next like portable biofilter, for like water.
whatever it is.
Isn't that
Yeah.
cool? Yeah, yeah. That's
Well,
neat.
and they love too. So we have a large refugee population. And so
Mhm.
some of our kids have just in different places, they've been like, hey, like we use those bio sand filters where I'm from, like, can you see if they have a video about my country? So really like that's again
Mhm.
like making those connections with those kids. And that was this student in particular. That was the first time I saw him get excited about something we were doing. And he's like, oh, we did, I've done, and so like just
That's
having this
cool.
enthusiasm and being excited. And a lot of students often don't leave, areas of their home too far. They don't get to explore
Right. Yeah.
stuff. And so I want to bring into students like, hey, look at what's going on in the world. And so one of the ways that we do it too is we have Nevada Reading Week, which is an amazing
Mm-hmm.
week. We have guest readers up the wazoo. And so bringing in people like for our water district, I'm friends with one of the engineers. So I bring her in, right?
Yeah.
She's an engineer, and this is cool for the kids to understand. Like, hey, remember when we talked about engineers? I promise, like, she could tell you everything we talked about.
Right. That's cool.
And just bringing in diverse people who are in different backgrounds and, this and that, because I want them to see, like, hey, and especially in Las Vegas, there's plenty of opportunity to go work in a casino. And I worked in a casino, my family's worked in casinos. We need casino workers, but also if that isn't what you want to do, that's fine. I want you to find a trade, a school, whatever it is, a business idea that's going to work for you. And I always tell my students, you don't need to go to college. I want you to
Hmm.
graduate high school and then we'll figure it out from there. If you
Yeah.
don't want
Yeah.
to go to college, that's fine. If you don't want to go to a trade school, that's fine. I just want you to be successful and I just want you to be
Mm.
happy. And
Hmm.
both of those things can happen at the same time. So giving them this, big wide net of like, look at all these things, I think is, really it's exciting for me
Yeah,
and
that's
for them.
you just made me think of something too when you were saying casinos, because I live out here in New Jersey and we're near Atlantic City. So it's not quite your
Oh yeah.
casinos, it's like mini casinos. But again, going back to this like infrastructure kind of idea, those casinos, I mean, yeah, there's plenty of jobs like what you would assume, like the jobs at the casinos, but they all probably have like their own wastewater treatment facilities right there. Like when you think about just going back on the water thing, and
Yeah.
I know that for a fact because over in Atlantic City they do, just because of my friend,
Okay.
I know this, that he's worked on those stations. Like, hey, I'm
Yeah.
working at Harrah's because they have a whole pumping system underneath that building that treats all the water for all of those cool casinos. So there's all that when they think about, oh yeah, it's not just what's happening underneath those casinos. What's operating those casinos? How's all that water and electricity and all that thing stuff getting done there? Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's like
Yeah.
a whole other side of it. That's cool. So I have something highlighted here because I was looking at your bio and you said you were you organized, what is Ed Camp Vegas?
Oh, Ed
What
Camp. I
is
love
it?
Ed Camp.
What
So
is it?
So Ed Camp way back in the day was,
Mhm.
I think it started in Philly. And so,
Really?
um, yes. And so, we find that the best time to collaborate with teachers when like being a teacher, most of the time my good ideas come when we are going to, happy hours after work, when I'm talking to my friends in their classroom doing my prep, like, hey, like let's
Mhm.
go grab food after, like, hey, let's go grab, and we're sitting and talking about things. And that's where the ideas come in. It's not
Yeah.
during your professional developments. Those are great, but it's not during, your class time because you're teaching. And so
Right.
at camp transformed and they've had they're international. And it's just really cool. It's transcended and they've been doing all these great things. Before I started Ed Camp here in Vegas, I went to a lot of them. And so what they are is an unconference. So you go and you don't know what you're going to learn that day because you need to create the board. So typically there will be a giant board up there. You take sticky notes and you write down ideas. So, hey, I want to learn about STEM solutions, or maybe depending on what district you're in. And we had this last time we had at camp, we had a new reading program. So people had questions, right? And yeah, I'm
Hmm.
doing the training, I'm doing this, but I want to hear from a teacher who also does it down the school down the street. So you build out the board, and then there's a couple rules. The rule of 2 feet, which is if you don't like what you're in, go to a different room. There's
Hmm.
also no facilitator. So you go in, somebody says, okay, I'm going to go ahead and take notes, and you start the conversation. But again, if it's not serving your needs, you get up and you walk away. And,
Hmm.
just in general, like we keep it positive, especially when we do it here. I'm like, we need to keep it positive. There's a lot of doom and gloom, but let's keep it happy. What's exciting
Yeah.
things that are happening? What are innovative things that you're doing? You're a brand new teacher. Yeah, honey, this is going to be really stressful. So we got you. Like we will take care of you, right?
Yeah.
Whatever it is. So you really get to figure out what you want to learn for the day. And you can leave in between sessions and go view different sessions. And
Mhm.
we also invite, community members, we invite teachers, we invite admin, we invite students. I've had students come, I've had my advisor from my college come just to
Really.
see like sometimes we're so far removed, not as teachers, but as other people outside of teaching, right? You're so
Hmm.
far
Hmm.
removed from teachers, you don't know what's going on. So bringing people in, right? Like maybe bringing in, an assemblyman or assemblywoman who's coming in and wants to learn about like what are the needs in this area, right? And
Hmm.
coming in and seeing what are teachers having to deal with. And
Yeah.
we also had some people from my leadership group that came. They're like, wow, like this was really cool to sit and talk with other teachers. So
Sounds like it.
yeah, and it's 100% free. So they never charge for ed camps. And it's one of those things that has just been like my favorite thing to do. I have had it on my birthday a few times or my birthday weekend because I just love it that much. Like seeing so many people come together for, like just wanting to learn is so exciting and it's a good time.
So help me understand. So
Yes.
is it a national organization? Like you said, it started in Philly. I heard you say
Yes.
that. So tell me, like,
Yes.
if I want to get involved over here in New Jersey, or I'm in Michigan, or I'm wherever, can anybody do this? Like, how does it work?
Yes. So if you go to EdCamp website, I want to say,
Okay,
don't quote me.
we'll
I'm
find it.
pretty sure they're a nonprofit. And so you could type in like EdCamp and then whatever area you're in Jersey, and you'll probably
Okay,
find people that already do it. And
chapters and things. Okay,
yes.
cool.
Yeah, pretty much. So people have already kind of taken, sorry, my light went out.
Is
Give me
that
a
a
second.
motion light?
Yeah, my motion light.
There you go. You got to jump around. There you go.
So you can go and find those people and connect with them and either, offer to help out, but really it's a
Yeah.
collaborative thing, right? Like I put that I started,
Okay.
it was a collaboration of, 50.
Collaboration here. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
I will send people, we'll link to it in the show notes. So if you're listening, I'll put a link below and they can go check it out. Cause that sounds awesome. Like that
Yes.
sounds like a really, and I think this is maybe a touchy subject, but I think for me owning a business, we're all remote. And I think there's great advantages to being remote, but I also think we lose so much in like that interpersonal connection of, back in the day, they called it like the water cooler conversation. Like you called it
Yeah.
like lunch or whatever. Like you're right. Professional development, like forced. It's that organic kind of talking and just being around each other. And hey, what are you doing? And no, it's cool. And, oh, what are you reading? What's on your plate? Or what do you? And it opens up so many cool conversations, and you learn so much about like other people and what your peers are doing. And in a business like mine, it's like, oh, I would have never known you were doing that. Zoom's amazing. Like I think being able to do this with you right now is absolutely mind bending. I mean, I was raised in the 70s as a little kid. I mean, this is like Jetsons level stuff, right? So what we're doing right now, and we take it for granted. But once we turn off the screen, we're all in our little silos, right? And it's like, pow, you go back on. This is cool, but then okay, bye. So I can understand why there's this kind of this uncertainty of whether or not we should be remote or because there's
Yeah.
something that gets lost not remote. When you're in person, there's so much more. So that sounds great. Ed Camp sounds really cool.
It's super fun. And especially
yeah.
like you were saying, like I think me being an extrovert, working from home was really hard because I was,
Yeah.
right. And I
Yeah.
love the work that we did. I do, but I love my cat, but not that much. And, like staying home all day and just, especially for extroverts needing that connection. I think it really opens it up. And then what's cool about Ed Camp too is seeing more introverted teachers. You can just sit
Yeah.
and listen, right? Like,
Yep.
oh, that's a good idea. And really just share. And it's just I always feel like it feels just like a happy place. I know that's silly, but I'm like, this is like my
No,
happy,
no.
like everybody's happy. Everybody's here because you're not doing it for money. You're not doing it because you paid. You showed up because you wanted to. You wanted to learn on a
That's
Saturday,
great. Yeah.
like it's a good time.
Well, I think that's a great segue into kind of the next section here, where I kind of think about those that are thinking about entering or have just entered. Like what kind of advice do you have for them? What kind of if I'm on the fence, like I know we have a teacher shortage right now. Like there's this people aren't going into the profession, and I can see why. There's a lot of reasons. Like you could say, oh, that's not for me. But there's every time I talk to people like yourself and Yukio and everybody else. I mean, Brittany Tar, I watch you guys and I'm just like, you guys love what you do. Like you just absolutely love what you do. And I think you have to, because it's not the easiest job in the world. It's quite frankly, it's a hard job. I've tried, right? Like I've run when I first started my business, I was the one running the programs. And so I was in rooms of, 20 fifth graders flying drones around. And I was like, oh,
Oh
I
yeah.
come out of there, I would be
Oh,
wiped.
buddy.
You must be exhausted by the end of a day. I mean, you must be wiped out, like physically, but I'm an extrovert like you. I can go to a conference and I could sit on Zoom all day and I want to I just want to go lie down because I'm just so wiped out.
Yeah.
But if I go to like a trade show, like I'm about to go to the Beyond School Hours trade show and a couple
Okay.
others, I'm actually going to San Diego. All this next week I'm traveling. And I can be at our exhibit on my feet 12, 13 hours a day, back's kind of freaking out, but I'm fired up because I'm feeding off all the people coming to the booth. I'm like on fire. I'm an extrovert.
Yeah.
And Zoom just crushes me. So let's talk about those entering or thinking about entering. What advice would you give them? Like resources, Ed Camp's a great one. There are other things that like we think about when you were just starting out. What do you know today that you wish you knew then? What would you have done differently?
Oh, that's hard. I'll be honest. I don't know that I would have done anything differently.
Okay.
I think because for me, being different when it came to my peers was like later became my superpower, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not following and conforming to everything that my peers were doing allowed me to grow. And so I think any new teacher who's coming in, just remember, like, it's okay for you to be authentically you. Nobody is expecting a Pinterest perfect classroom. Your kids, I will tell you, don't care. They do
Mm,
not care if your room is perfect. They do not care if, you come in and you're having a rough day. They just want to love on you. And building those connections with those kids is the easiest and fastest way to fall in love with teaching. And don't get me wrong, there's been some, turkeys over the years where oh man, is this a job for me? But at the end of the day, like I just look at all of the amazing things that I get to do. I get like, it's my dream job. I get to come to a job where I get to hang out with kids and I love kids. I get to play with robots and 3D print, and I get to share my passions like charity water or share, like, hey, we're going to learn about spheros or 3D printing or drones or whatever it is. Like, and then I get to go home and relax and do whatever. And it's fun.
mm,
It's a good time. And so I think for any new teachers or people, on the fence of going into education, it's not as scary as you think it is. And don't be afraid to leave either. Don't be afraid to go find a school that fits what you need. I've been at many, many schools, and
mhm,
each one of them has taught me something different, and some have been harder than others, but it's allowed me to find a school where I get to have fun with the kids. I get autonomy over what I do in my classroom. I'm not questioned about whether what I'm doing is, what's right for kids or not, because there's trust. There's that, there's
mhm.
my admin believes in me. They trust me. They know I'm doing good work. We get to do things like Lego night and I get to throw out wild ideas and they're like, cool, great, let's do it. And so I think, that was like a whole blabble of things, but don't be
That's
afraid
great.
of
No.
yourself. Don't, and don't take yourself too seriously. The kids are going to love you just the way that you are. And just make sure, like you're also taking time for yourself. I was the teacher. The one thing I guess I would change, I wouldn't go out on weekends and I wouldn't stay till 8 o'clock at night every day. I did that my first couple of years because I was so like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be best teacher ever. And I did spend time putting things up on my classroom wall to make it look perfect and measuring and this. The kids don't
Mhm.
care. They just want to come and
Right.
do their work on the wall. If it's crooked, that's fine. I'll change it later. Things like that. So I think remembering why is it that you want to be a teacher? Because if it's for the money and fame, I mean, you might want to find a different position, like different
Yeah.
profession. I mean, I don't do it for the money, maybe the fame, because I don't know if you've been to a playground full of kindergartners when you have pretty shoes or like, oh, your hair, like today, one of the kids was like, oh, your hair looks more blonde. Did you get your hair done? I was like, oh, I didn't, but thank you.
It's
So,
good. Yeah, you are the star, right? You're on stage every
right?
day,
Yeah,
technically, right?
that's the
Yeah.
fame that I get. Yeah.
There's the
Listen.
fame that you get. It's funny. So when I first started this, I started right at the pandemic. So like literally January, I'm like, oh, I'm going to start this drone business. And then everything shut down. And I was like, oh no, like what did I just, I had quit my job, everything. So, but we started going on Zoom. Like I started working with kids on Zoom and like, midway through the year when schools were starting to go back, I had now had something that I could like bring to schools and things. And I had a school down in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, a district would allow me to zoom in to like 5 different schools at once. And they had like somebody there to help manage the room. And they got all the drones and all the materials and all the curriculum that we built. And I ran the sessions via Zoom simultaneously into like 5 different, like in your room, there would be like 20 kids in there
Yeah.
and you would be helping me out, right? And I flew down to Tennessee. I didn't tell the kids. And there was one class and they turned on the big board and they were all sitting there waiting for me to show up on the screen because they've never met me in person.
Yeah.
And I come in, I sneak in and I'm sitting behind them and the kid's waiting and I go, "Who are we waiting for?" And he looks over and he goes, like he did like a double take and he's like,
Yeah.
"It's like you." And my wife was like, "What are you, like famous?" I was like, "Yes, I am." I
Yes,
was
I am.
like,
Thank you
so
very
to your
much.
point, right? Yeah, absolutely. I am to those kids. I'm famous. So that's great. And you said something. Do you know who Gavin McCormick is? And if you don't, you should follow him.
Okay.
You love this guy. I met him during the pandemic. He's from New South Wales or Sydney area in Australia, and he is this amazing, like experiential educator that is all about children's potential around the world. He's global. His name's Gavin McCormick. He has this thing called upschool.co, and
Okay.
it's all free. And he literally, if he wants to teach kids about like Antarctica and polar bears, he goes there with like a film crew.
Oh,
And then
that's
he like films the whole thing and builds a curriculum around there. And he climbs to like base camp at Everest and shows like, this is Everest. Look at this. And
yeah.
he's wild. And I just had him on and he said something because I asked him like, what would you say? He said, and you just said the same thing. If if you don't like the school you're in, or if you get there and it's not the right fit, and even before you get there, he said, ask, are you going to let me be the teacher that I want to be here? Or are you going to hold me to some rigid standards that I'm not going to be able? And he said, if the answer is not affirmative, that you get to do the way you want to teach, go find another place to teach that fits you. And that's what you just said. And I think that is important. You've got to find the right fit for you. You know who you are, be yourself, be authentic. These are all the words I just heard you say. And I absolutely agree with you that that is your passion. And if you're forced to conform into this little mold, you're just not going to be happy doing it. If you're not happy doing it, your students aren't going to feel happy. You're not going to get that response.
No, absolutely not. And I think even with, like, yes, we have curriculum that we have to teach. I get that.
Sure.
But
Mhm.
how do you get to, and listen, not every lesson either is going to be like fireworks and confetti. You're
Right.
going to have lessons that are going to be, a little on the drab side, and that's okay. Like I'll tell the kids when they come in, like our fifth graders today, we're starting 3D printing. So we're logging in, we're getting everybody situated. And I warned them last time, hey, this isn't going to be, like we're not coming in and printing right away, right? So like
Yeah.
setting
Yeah.
those expectations of like the reality of what we're doing is sometimes we have to go through these processes and learn these things. So you're going to learn about what the 3D printer is. You're going to learn about all these things, and we're going to do all of this. So next time you come in though, don't think you're going to start printing things on the machine, right? So
Right.
how to like
You're not
level
right.
their expectations. But
There's
I
no
can
Iron
still
Man
make
masks being made today, right?
right? But I can still make it fun for them. I can still make it engaging and exciting.
Yeah.
But like this just isn't a lesson that is going to be super engaging like when we did, like our egg drop project. It's not going to be that same level, and that's okay. Not every lesson has to be these
Right.
big old over the top things. And I think as you grow in your teaching, you find what works and what doesn't, right? So you get to find,
Mhm.
this light.
It's not bad, actually. It's okay.
We're trying to save energy. There we go.
It works, and it didn't look so bad. I mean, it wasn't like it was pitch black. So there you go. You're
Oh,
good.
okay.
For
The
those
camera's
listening,
off
the
on mine.
lights. She has the lights that auto lights, so she has to jump up and down and activate them, which is always fun.
The
You're getting
energy
your
saving light.
you're getting your exercise in during the podcast. You
Yeah.
get running back and forth.
So
Some
yeah,
jumping jacks.
I
Good.
just want to make sure, like new teachers don't think like not everything is going
Mm.
to be spectacular and
That's
amazing.
right.
And you
It's
just
not always a
grow.
highlight reel. It's not always a highlight reel, right?
No. And you'll grow eventually, right? Like you'll grow, and like there's stuff like the egg drop project. I have it dialed in now. I know exactly how to do it. We've done it for a couple years. It's so much fun. But like today is the first time we've done 3D printing. It's probably going to be a mess. And I'm okay with that, right? Like you have
Yeah.
to be okay with the go with the flow, and
Yep.
it's not always going to be perfect. And I'm okay with that. It's a
Good.
STEM room.
Great.
It's a STEM room, right? Like it's gonna, I
It's a
mean,
STEM room.
yeah. Even when I was in the classroom, my principal, who's very type A, loved him to death. He came in one time and it was just chaos. And he was, what are they doing? I was like, go ask them. Go out. They're learning, I promise. And he's like, what are you doing? And I'm like moving things off my desk. I'm like, oh, I'm about to do reading groups. He's like, eyes as big, and he's like, oh my. I was like, I promise they are learning. And he'd always tell me, he's like, I could never be the teacher that you are, but you're a
Right.
teacher. I'm like, thank you. I appreciate that.
That's great. Yeah, that's great. I'm a little bit of a neatnik myself. I have a trouble with all that stuff. Hey, so all right, I'm looking at time and I want to get this in. So, you made this. There's a lot. It's easy to slip into, I'm an optimist. I always try to look at the world through rose-colored glasses and glass half full. I think that's the way to live. I think it's too easy to slide. It's easier to fall into the other way, which is just like despair and look at all the negativity and stuff like that. So I choose not to, and I choose to focus positive. And so in that spirit, what excites you about the future, and particular to education? Like, what are you optimistic about?
Oh, that's a loaded question. There's a lot of things.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I mean, the easy answer is the kids, right? Like just seeing them come in,
Mhm.
being exciting, being engaged. I'm excited to see, I think, what the next 10 years look like for them and what are they going to do? Because now that I've had students that graduate and I see what they're going to do, it gets me excited and hopeful for like, what are these little breadcrumbs that I'm leaving right now? What are these going to turn into later? Seeing kids
Mhm.
who are in my STEM class now wanting to go into, or not STEM, when I did technology, sorry, my technology class now going into technology or STEM fields is wild to
Mhm.
me, and they're like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, because you taught me how to code and I really liked that. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
That's wild to me that you like that one, and it was eons ago for them, right? Like it was elementary school and they're like, oh yeah, no, I'm going to go into computer science. I'm like, what? This is crazy. I love
That's
this. This is
so
so fun.
cool.
So
That's
I think,
cool.
yeah, I think just that I'm hopeful of kids, and just really just teachers bringing the community together and really, I think shifting and doing what is best for kids. And legally, we're not hearing this, but just whatever's best for kids, even if it's not always, what we're supposed to do. Because sometimes
Hmm.
we have to break the rules a little bit to make it a pleasant and fun experience for the kids, right?
Hmm.
Like sometimes you just have to, and I'm okay with that. I'm going to be a rule breaker. I'm going to get into good trouble, and I'm okay with that.
You beg for forgiveness later. That's
Oh
right.
yeah, yeah.
So
There's never
yeah.
been a chance when, there's never
So
been something I did where I got in trouble for. They're like, actually, that's a good idea. I'm like, okay, great, because I don't know if I'm supposed to do that or not.
so the kids, they make you
Kids,
excited. They
thank
give you
you.
optimism. That's awesome. So, yeah, well, listen, any last words, any parting words for everybody out there listening? Again, the goal of this is to give, I listen to a lot of business podcasts with the absolute goal of trying to learn something. If I can walk away from a podcast and I can say, you know what, that's something that I can absolutely use today. I learned something today. So as we kind of sign off here, what would you say to everybody out there listening in this profession, in your profession?
First off, thanks for all that you do, because I know the work ain't easy, but the work is worth doing. So continue doing it, and yeah, just you know, all the good stuff. I don't know if those are great parting words, but that's what I got.
That's it. I love it. That's it. Just be yourself. Do you
Yeah.
go out, change the world, right?
Yes, sure. Well, that sounds a lot better. We'll go with that one. Thank you.
All right. Well, Sarah, thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure to meet you. I really enjoyed this. Thank you for coming on. I know Ikua and I have had a great one. She was great a few weeks ago, and she recommended that you come on, and now I understand why. Your classroom, folks, if you're listening, you should go watch it on YouTube. Her room looks amazing. This is great. Thank you so much for being on.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful Super Bowl weekend.
Oh, let's hope it. Go
Yeah.
Eagles. All right. Take care. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.
All right.
Shine that